Welcome to The Perfect Balance, where this is the podcast where we discover your symptoms are not the problem, with your hosts, Eva Vennari, Dr. Heather Kneale, and Leslie Brown. Join us as we jump right into this episode. Welcome in. This is The Perfect Balance, where we discover that your symptoms are not the problem. My name is Eva Vennari. I'm founder of the Elevate Institute, and I help midlife professionals get to their next best selves.
And I'm Dr. Heather Kneale. I am CEO and co-founder of Global Nutritional Healing, and we have certificate programs in mineral balancing.
And my name is Leslie Brown, creator of the Stress Relief System for High Achieving Men.
Yeah, and today we're going to talk about how to get to more high achievingness. That's a new word. We're talking specifically about something that we call calcium shell. What is it? How does it work? Why is it important to know about? Why do you want to know about it? So yeah, right. So
Exactly.
Yeah. Why do we all need to know if we have one or not? Let's give some few examples.
Well, there's a lot of symptoms. I mean, there's over 50 symptoms that you can have. And you might just think it's one thing. You might just think, you might think, oh, I have joint pain. I have calcium deposits. Oh, I'm tired all the time. I'm irritable. I'm depressed. I mean, these sound like they're all different problems, but really they're all can be related to a calcium shell. Lack of awareness, that's a big one too. You're just not aware of what's going on and can't remember things, memory loss. That's very common with a calcium shell. So one of the reasons why you want to know if you have this going on in your own body is because we can help you. That's pretty much, we can help you get rid of it. I just got checked recently, a few weeks ago for calcium in my body. I wanted to just check. I have some family history stuff with a lot of health issues of other family members. And so there's certain things I'll get checked, and they couldn't find any calcification in my whole body. And I'm someone who had a calcium shell and very high, so off the chart high, one of the highest that you will see almost, so I had calcification everywhere. I had to have, and I just got checked and they didn't find anything on my arteries, nowhere.
I want to elaborate on that just a little bit. So calcification in the arteries is like hardening of the arteries, right? Is that what you'd say?
It can cause blood pressure problems. It can cause lymph node problems. It can cause, it can affect your thyroid. I've had people that have had calcification on both their arteries on the side of their neck, and then they end up with cysts and other things on their thyroid. So there's, and it can cause strokes. I mean, when you start blocking blood and going certain areas, it can turn into bigger problems. Mm-hmm. But the smaller part of it is it can cause joint pain, body pain, arthritis, those kinds of things when you get calcium in the wrong places. And we give calcium, so that can be a little confusing for people, right?
It's very
Here, take your calcium. Take your calcium. Yes, you have a calcium shell. We get it. No, I don't want to take calcium. I've stopped all foods that have calcium.
Yes. Yeah, don't do that.
That has calcium in it, right? Yeah. No, don't do that. You actually need a good source of calcium, with a balanced program. We're not going to just give you a ton of calcium. That's not how it works.
Well, let's get down to the brass tacks of what does it mean to be high on a test, and we'll show you what that looks like. What does it mean when you're high on a test? When I explain it, you're losing calcium out of the body, because when we test the hair, you're not testing what's inside your body. It's not a blood test, right? So we're testing how the body's processing, and whatever's coming out of the body is left over, and it's in your soft tissue, which is your nails and your hair. So when we test the hair, we can see if it's staying in the body, or let's say in the bones where it belongs, your calcium belongs in your bones, or whether it's displaced. And so we can see that. So when it's high on a test, it means it's coming out of the body in a bio-unavailable form. Your body can't use it, so it says trash.
And why can't it use it? It can't use it because the adrenal glands are not working properly. And a lot of times it has to do with, getting a little more techie here, it has to do with sodium and potassium being low on your hair chart, because those help keep calcium and magnesium in solution in your body. And so when you see those low on a hair chart, oftentimes there's other reasons too. That's not just the only time you'll see a calcium shell. The other two, calcium and magnesium, usually go up together. And then we see this calcium shell. So what ends up happening is that your body can't keep that calcium in the blood anymore. So it precipitates, it comes out of the blood. And like Eva just said, it goes into your soft tissues, your hair, your nails, your joints, your kidneys, your brain, your arteries, the places it's not supposed to be.
Kidney stones.
Yes.
Huge.
That's
a huge
yeah,
symptom
kidneys,
of
yeah.
having a biounavailable copper.
Calcium.
Calcium.
Well, we were talking about copper just a minute ago. So
We were, well, but in my brain, I see high calcium, and I know the body's toxic in copper because that's a relationship. One wants to agitate the other to pull it out. It's it's an inflammatory, like we talked about. But yeah, the relationships between the minerals that are nutrients and also affected by the heavy metals. It's all a story. It's not just
Right.
one thing by itself. So shall we show them what it looks like?
yes, this is a client of mine. Yes, please.
Okay, I'm gonna bring up.
I couldn't find her very first hair test, but this was pretty close.
Okay, all right. Let me see if I can get things out of the way.
So she started actually in 2010. She did start in 2010, but you can see there's some previous numbers. But she had her calcium shell. You see where calcium is.
Right here.
Thank you, Eva, with your little cursor there. You can see that the ideal is 40, right? And then you see, you can't even see where it is anymore. It's gone. So that's, we're talking about a calcium shell here.
Yeah, the ideal should be somewhere between here and here. But
Very
the
rich.
number, like if we were to get paper, it would require a lot more paper up here.
Very
Yeah,
good.
people can see that, right? It's 120 is the top of our chart, and this person's registering at 567, literally off the chart in multiples of hundreds.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is
So
what's
she was
leaving.
miserable.
Oh God.
Yeah, she was miserable. She had, I'm gonna have to look, she had so many symptoms, but she presented with arthritis, restless leg, exhaustion, infertile. She had hypothyroidism, mood swings, anxiety, depression, and those are the main ones. But she had marked off on her sheet almost every symptom, really.
That's not uncommon.
Yeah, it was just so many symptoms. And so she was aware of them. But so, lack of awareness can happen with the calcium shell, but she was very aware of her symptoms.
Wow.
And one of the things,
Copper.
Go ahead, Leslie.
I was going to say, one of the things would point out too is when the body doesn't have the right balance of minerals to be able to utilize the calcium, it will start to pull in toxic metals as a substitute.
Mm-hmm.
So your bones can have lead in there. Lead is often a substitute for calcium. If you think about lead poisoning, you can think of it, that'd make you grouchy, right?
Right.
You can just imagine that stuff. So then instead of hard bones with good hard calcium, you have soft bones because lead is so soft. You can think of a number 2 pencil, for example. And then we see people also, right? Their spines can start to bend. We've talked about that before. And then once we get the calcium shell gone, meaning the body can start to utilize calcium again, it can push that toxic lead out of the teeth and the bones and where the lead is that calcium's supposed to be. And that's a very good thing.
Yeah. Oh, and as that lead is coming out of the body, then you'll notice the calcium shell starts to diminish and all of these other ratios down here get better. It's interesting to watch. Lead is quite something, and it's
right.
It's so readily available and free in our environment.
And then why does that calcium go down when the lead comes out?
Because the calcium is retained in the body where it belongs back into the bone.
It's doing what it's supposed to be doing. The body's like, yay, the replacement part was soft and we didn't really like it,
Mhm.
So now it gets the strong calcium to build the bones, the teeth, and other things in the body.
And this is what we love to do for people because we don't really know. Like sometimes we even guess on our clients what their chart might look like, and we're mistaken.
Yeah.
Because we just don't know until we have the facts, and the body reveals them through the hair tissue, and it'll hold 3 months worth of this data. And we check over, I think, 17 biomarkers through these one test. People can't believe it. You can find all that out about me with a hair test. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. We're not reading your mind. Yeah.
No, not at all.
Wait a minute.
Eva might be.
Yeah, Eva might be.
Yeah.
No. I read the energy. I read the
Yeah.
energy.
Not the mind, not the
Not the
mind.
mind. That's invasive. We don't do that. Yeah, but this really does tell a story, and it's even though, like Leslie said, it's 17 biomarkers, there's more, because the second level of this is the relationship between the different minerals, and even the lead as it's coming out, or whatever mineral that we know that we have too much in a bio unavailable form needs to come out and to adjust. The body's always looking to adjust itself. Think of a number 6 or a number 3, right? We've got that rocky bottom on both of those numbers. It's always in a place of needing to find its balance, and that's what the perfect balance is all about. We're talking about getting to these ideals, which we're looking for as close to this as possible, but we're none of us are robots, so it's going to be close. It's going to be somewhere in here is the ideal, and that's what
Exactly.
This
And when you
feedback
get
equips
started, and when you go ahead, Leslie.
this feedback really equips people to make wiser decisions too, because let's say we're back to that bone example with the lead, right? And you're bending, you might be tempted to think, I need more calcium, and then you take more calcium. So the truth is, you do need more calcium, but you need access to that calcium. You need the other minerals to keep for it to work in relationship for the body to utilize, right? So taking more calcium is just going to come right out in your hair tissue analysis. We'll see that chart go even higher. So it's easy to read a symptom and come up with an incorrect solution unless you have the data to work with. So again, it's the value behind this testing. Heather, thanks for letting me jump in.
No problem. You kind of answered what you mentioned what I was going to say. Very similar. So,
and I want to point out another observation here. Notice the initial test, or the before number, is lower.
that was her initial. That was her initial.
So then people see it on their retest. Oh, 5, 6, I'm getting worse. No, no. This is what your body needs to do to take the trash out completely.
Yes, mine went up 100 points at one point. And I remember just thinking, oh my goodness. And then I had the doctor go over it with me and said, no, this is really good. You're getting rid of more bio unavailable. Well, I'm like, well, I'm feeling better. But I thought, that was something worse on my hair test, but I'm feeling better. Well, the reason why I'm feeling better is because it's that calcium that was in my shoulder. I had terrible shoulder problems. It was feeling better. So was it coming out of there? Yeah, it could have. It was coming out of different places in my body.
And getting possibly reutilized and gone from bio unavailable to bioavailable. Because we really don't know, but
Yes,
we can only see
tell.
what's coming out and what's being aggravated. Shall we see what happens after 3 years?
Yes, let's look at her 3-year.
All right, so moving to the next one, let me get rid of that.
Oh, awesome.
Wow,
Yeah.
can you believe it? It's the same person, right? And here we have a whole different. Oops, there we are. Yeah, look at how much lower. That's at the top end of ideal.
Right.
Awesome.
She felt so much better. It took 3 years. Now, some people it takes longer. I know for me, it took much longer. It was working on, it doesn't mean that you're getting worse. Yeah, it was working on other things on my body. I saw a lot of I had a lot of iron, manganese, aluminum. I had a lot of other problems too. That it was working on ratios. I had other things that it was working on the hair chart. So you have to remember that, oh, you just picked something out. Great. Very good. So
I
other things
analyzed
on the hair chart.
Yeah, I'm like, look at how much lead is coming out, and that leaves room for just as what we just said. As soon as there's room back in the bones, the calcium goes right back to it. And that's proof. It's proof.
Right there.
That's a huge, what is that? The factor of 10?
Right. 0.103. It may not look a lot to other people, but that is high on a hair test.
Yeah.
Yeah, think
That is very high.
percentages, think
Yeah.
percentages,
Yeah.
not one small number to another small number, but like you said, at least a tenfold increase.
Oh, and there's another factor of 5 right there of cadmium.
Yes.
That's huge. That's lovely. I get excited when I see this kind of stuff.
I do too. You get happy for the people. You just think, oh, they're going to feel so much better.
Oh, and look
Yeah.
how much
The
better the
thyroid
thyroid
ratio.
function. Yeah, I
Yeah.
know. So, okay, I'm on the fly analyzing. Sorry, guys. There we go.
No, that's really good because this just shows other people that, it wasn't just working on just her calcium shell. It's been working on all of us, as the relationships work together, and you're going to see things go up and down. The reason why I mentioned that, and it was good that Eva said about the calcium going up even higher, is that your body is getting rid of it, and it's all working together and healing your body. So, but she ended up with, she was able to get pregnant in 2013. And it was actually the middle of 2013 when she got pregnant. So she was infertile, was told she was infertile, told she was never going to have kids.
Oh,
And I think she's had 3 now.
Great to
Yeah.
prove them wrong. Can we scroll down, look at her NAK?
yeah. Let's do it.
Just look at that. So we're
Oh.
talking about this. We're saying like a lot of times when people don't get pregnant or men aren't feeling vital, it's because they don't have enough energy to be able to do that. So that NAK ratio is one of those things. You have enough vitality, you have enough life force energy in you to participate in these activities and to sustain life. And so these are the kinds of changes that we see.
Yeah. And just to give their reference there, Na to K ratio is your vitality ratio. It's the most important ratio on our test. It tells us how well are we digesting our food? How well are we creating new quality cells? How well are we getting rid of toxic metals? Pretty well right now. That's craziness. And the ideal of that is 2.5. And this person got to a 2.25, whereas the previous ratio is 3. That's an inflammation factor. And it got down. Now it's probably getting rid of some sort of low-grade infection. That's beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. She had a lot of changes on her, in her health, on her hair charts. I mean, it was there was some times where she'd go up and down, when some of this stuff comes out, you don't feel the greatest,
You're at effect of it. Anything that's in the
right.
bloodstream, you're at effect of it. Think of it like a virus or, bacteria that doesn't belong. It's in the bloodstream, your body's working with it.
She stuck with it though. See, this is the point I want to make, is that, sometimes when people start to feel a little worse, they think, oh my goodness, I'm getting worse. And you're not. You're cleaning up a trash can that's been building up for a very long time.
Well, and let's talk about that too. The person who is looking at this compared to the previous one, you said they've been on the program now for 3 years. Shouldn't they be imperfect? Shouldn't they all be within the ideal range by now?
No,
I get this question a lot.
Yeah, no, I mean, I've been doing it, 18 years now? I think 18 years. I'm in the blue range on all of mine, and I'm very close sometimes to the ideals, but I never stay there. And it has to do with your body's always changing. It's a constant. Sometimes you're going to speed up, sometimes you're going to slow down. You might get excited. Maybe your friend's getting married and you're excited, or you're getting married and you get excited. And so sometimes you'll speed up in your oxidation rate just from that. What I mean by that is these numbers can change. Things can go up and down because we're not static. We have everyday things we're doing. We're eating, you might be eating differently. There's just so many things that can change.
Breathing toxic air, drinking toxic water, all those things that you run into, driving, inhaling fumes from exhaust fumes from cars. We just never ever get away from our environment. And right now it's just not an environment that really supports good health and wellness.
Yeah.
That's why we're here.
Exactly. And people think, oh, well, I've moved out into Timbuktu. Well, let me just tell you something. It doesn't matter where you live. We all are sharing the same ecosystem of our air. It's like peeing in a pool and on one side, and somebody goes, oh, I only peed over here on this end.
Right.
It's in the pool. Okay. So
Well, I did move out into Timbuktu. I'm out in the middle of nowhere, but we had someone come out I think it was about 3 years ago, and tested our air quality. They were just doing different air quality tests, and I saw the report, and I didn't know what all of the different things I looked up some of the stuff, but one jumped out at me very quickly because I work with it daily. Aluminum was high. So here I look outside at my garden and I'm thinking, oh, they're all being bathed with aluminum, so it's very hard to get. I tell people it's when they say, I just want to be in I want to be off the grid. I'm not going to be exposed to anything. If that's something you want to do, that's wonderful. But if you're doing it just because you think you're going to get away from everything, you're not going to get away from everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's impossible to live in a bubble. And on top of that, it's what are you using to be convenient? What are the things that, we talked about the cell phone, the radiation from using a cell phone. You've got your Wi-Fi as an EMF aggravator. You've got all of your how many devices do we now plug into a house that we've never plugged in before? I don't even know what the stat is on that, but I know I have way more things plugged in now than I did when I was a kid.
Right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's so many more, and the conveniences that manufacturers take advantage of to bring a mass amount of food to the masses also reduces the nutrient value density, and all of those things affect, of course, the calcium, but the whole body. It's not just an individual level, but we wanted to highlight here what one level can tell us, and why it's so important to take a look at it. If you've never had a mineral balancing analysis done, it's well worth it, even just to get an idea of what your body is doing. Stop guessing is our biggest message. Stop guessing.
Right.
Or being overly confident without the data to back it up. Oh, I feel great. I know what I'm doing. What?
Yeah.
Right. And people, and then looks too, people can look like they're really healthy. And I mean, some of my sickest people they're gorgeous. They're gorgeous people. I've seen them on Zoom and they're just so beautiful, and they have all these health issues. So looks this is an inside job,
Yeah.
Well, and the body will push itself to the nth degree to sustain life. And that's what we see too. Sometimes people's tests come out perfectly the first time. But in fact, I had one, she goes, oh, I'm doing great. She had no body hair whatsoever. I said, well, what about this one major symptom? It's you have to know how to read these tests, and you have to have the experience to understand that what these things really mean, to be able to put them into perspective. Because as we've said several times, this is not a diagnostic tool. It is a tool that gives us an idea of what's going on, and it's our experience and training that we bring to the table that help us to lend understanding to you. And that's a big deal.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very tempting to look at I did this when I saw my first test, and my calcium shell was off the charts. My copper was also raised high, and all these others looked like a jagged tooth, of instability, and it matched the 30 odd symptoms that I had. For my practitioner, she goes, well, this all makes sense to me. They're all related. And I went, what? No one's told me that before.
Right.
I felt better. Because I thought I had like all these different problems, and they were all related to really a pattern or two on the hair test. So it was very helpful.
Yeah, just knowing that there's a holistic solution or a way of looking at it that makes sense to anybody, it reduced my anxiety all by itself.
Yes.
So much better. Yeah. Exactly.
Well, that's big. I hear a lot of people talking about anxiety today. I'm so glad you brought that up. Yeah. And that was when your calcium shell went down. That's what you're saying, Eva?
No, just noticing that the person that I was finally being heard, I was being listened to. What are your problems? Oh, I believe you, as opposed to it's all in your head, right?
Right. Gosh.
And then when the calcium shell is high, as Heather was talking about, I wasn't feeling all of my symptoms, which is interesting. There was more pain yet ahead of me as I healed because the nervous system can only handle so much at any one point in time, and your body goes into that the high stress, and it suppresses some of your symptoms. And so you just have to kind of, you look forward to, your body will reveal symptoms when you're at effect of something it's trying to heal.
Yes.
And that
I wasn't alert. Yeah. I was the same. I wasn't alert to some things. And when my calcium shell came down, I just remember telling my husband, I'm like, oh, there's something going on with my left shoulder. And he's like, looking at me like I'm nuts. And I'm like, it's new. I've never had this. And he's just, what are you talking about? I'm like, this is new. This is brand new. And he said, honey, you've been going and giving the chiropractor and getting help with that for at least 5 years. And I sat back and I thought, I'm going crazy. But I wasn't. I wasn't. It was just like I was more aware. Things were starting to, the rose-colored glasses were starting to fade a little bit here and there.
Yeah. Is it rose-colored glasses, or is it coping? And I really think,
yeah, it could be coping. It was mainly coping, because you don't want to, if you start paying attention to all those things, you can't do anything else.
yeah, that's where the anxiety was coming from. And so to finally have somebody sit there and go, I believe you, I understand this, it makes total and complete sense to me why you're experiencing all of these symptoms, and here's the way forward. The anxiety just went whew, way down.
Right.
The first
Yeah,
time
'cause
I heard the
we
term
don't get
brain,
those. Yeah, all those things you mentioned, we don't get heard. We don't, I mean, there's so many, we hear that from many of our clients that come to us. Oh, you believe me? Well, why wouldn't I? Because other people have told them, they don't believe them, or it's in their head, or there's no such thing, or you've manifested this. That's another thing I've heard.
Spiritual bullying, that's terrible. What were you going to say, Leslie?
well, I remember going to a practitioner and saying I felt like I had cotton in my head all the time. And she said, oh, the technical term for that's brain fog. And I cried, because it had been decades and nobody had ever validated that. And it was easy for me to convince myself I was just crazy, but that's just not the case. It's being listened to is huge. And there was, as you said, a sense of relief, like all that anxiety and trying to prove to people that yes, it's real, all went away because it was validated and somebody had a solution for me. It was very important.
Yeah, I think that's also the distinction between trying to handle this all on your own and now having we're here to help with the journey, not just the diagnosis. And it's like, if you find the practitioner that has been where you are, has the results that you're looking to achieve and more, because all of us have been on this work for a very long time, and we've achieved more than we thought was possible. What do you mean? I'm supposed to have energy all day? So there's a difference, and
wake up refreshed. What do you mean?
yeah, what is that about? I don't know. Yeah, there's so many different symptoms we could talk about. We just figured that, we're talking about specifically when it comes to calcium. Don't take it by itself in a vacuum. Make sure that you're giving your body what it needs as a whole. Check it out. Even if you're just curious, get a one-off test and see where you stand, and have somebody explain it to you. And if it doesn't make sense from there, I'd be surprised, really surprised. Like this takes the guesswork out of every supplement. It's basically a manual for how to take care of your body
For the rest of your life.
Yeah.
It's not, that's how I look at it for the rest of my life. This is something that I will be doing, because I never want to go back to how sick I was ever. So I keep finding even more things that are improving, and I didn't think could, like, oh, wow, I feel really good. I'm happy a lot of the time. I mean, there's some times where things happen, but I mean, I'm pretty optimistic and joyful most of the time, and before I was just this roller coaster of moods. My husband's like, you've got like 7 personalities and I only like 2 are okay.
No. Love is unconditional. No.
That's right.
No,
I didn't have that sentence back then, but anyways, He was teasing, of course, but in reality, I mean, it was just like up, and when your energy's so low, you know, just a look, or if I think of something, I'd be like happy, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, you know, I'm gonna come after you, you know, what did you do? Ah, you know, so everybody had to kind of walk on eggshells sometimes, because, which is not what you want. I don't want people walking on eggshells because of my mood, because I don't have enough energy, and I can't sleep, and I'm eating terrible, and I'm doing all these things, you know, that I just didn't know better, you know.
You know, I thought when you said that, you make it look adorable when you do that, but I understand a raging woman is not a good thing, as, as people will know. But that was new for me, and one of my clients had really pointed it out and said, I never realized that anger was a measure of health. Just didn't realize it. So I actually thought it was just completely an issue of self-control, and I wasn't doing an effective job of it, which would make me beat myself up more emotionally, which turns into that vicious cycle, and totally an inappropriate diagnosis and action for what the real issue was, because I had a huge high calcium shell, and I would have never ever dreamed that my anger outbursts or my moodiness had to do with my body not utilizing calcium. I did not know how to think that way. And none of my advisors knew how to think that way until I ran into a mineral balancing practitioner, for which I'm very thankful, as we all three are.
Yeah. Ta-da!
Right. Well, anger gives you energy. I wanted to mention that. You know, if somebody's angry all the time, or they're having these outbursts, I really think that it has to do with low energy, because it kind of fuels them a little bit. And then that's what I noticed even for myself. I'd be like, oh, I got everybody angry. You know, that's horrible, but I got everybody angry. But I feel better. I'm like, oh, you know, because it gave me a little boost of energy,
Right.
which is not the way you want it ever, 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 ever. You'll have poor relationships. They'll end up, you know, it's going to be really hard.
Lose your job.
Oh yeah. Yell at your boss,
Oops.
causing trouble at work. Yeah.
Burn bridges. You don't just cross
Yes,
them.
yeah.
Burn them down. Yeah.
Or explode them.
I've got a gas tank on my back, you know,
Yeah.
just letting it go and throwing matches, you know.
Have flamethrower will travel. Yeah.
Yes.
Oh my.
We laugh about it now.
I know.
Now.
Well, we've all three, which I thought was interesting. And I did not know all three of us have had calcium shells, that we are all calcium
No?
shells. I did not know that until just now. So very interesting.
So much
Very
to
It's
learn.
not the case with everybody, you know.
No.
So.
No. All right. Well, that just about wraps it up. We'll definitely talk more about the individual pieces of tests more in the future, because this was very revealing. That was very, you know, good to see the case study, the before and the after, and how does that work and what does it mean to you. And I think the more that we can share to see how your story is realized in everybody's, this is the problems that we deal with our clientele are prolific. Everybody is experiencing some sense of this. May not be exactly the same. It's based on, again, the thumbprint of your own hair test, but the problems, it's an epidemic more so than any virus, I think. So, because it's a slow death. And if you don't want to end up propped up on medications for the last 20 years of your life in a home, you do something like this.
Yeah. And it's never too late to get started. I've had people start in their 80s. They're in their 80s. And I have a couple right now, and they're having things improve. And so it's never too late.
I love that.
We want you to start earlier, but you know,
find us. That's why we're doing this. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, share this video with your friends. If you didn't see your own story in this episode or in previous ones, which I kind of doubt, really. But if you didn't, then share it with a friend that you want to refer, because they'll hear their own story. They'll hear themselves in this and want to take action, or at least they'll know about it. Help us get the word out. There are alternatives to just medication. Medicine as it stands in our society now needs alternative medicine in with it. It's combined. It's not separate. You know, it's not either or. It's not traditional medicine or or holistic. It's together. And that's what we're trying to do here. Okay. All right. Any last word before we wrap up this one?
People can let us know their story. And then if we have case studies that might, of course, we won't really know until we do
That's a
their
good
hair
one.
test. But if we have we have stories or case studies that sound similar, I'd be glad to bring those up too.
That would be that's a great idea, Leslie.
Great idea. All right, cool. Well, this has been your episode of The Perfect Balance, where we discover your symptoms are not the problem. This was about the calcium shell today. My name is Eva Vennari with the Elevate Institute.
And I'm Dr. Heather Kneale with Global Nutritional Healing.
And I'm Leslie Brown with the Stress Relief System.
And we'll see you next time.